Yep. You should know how to do it, right? All right. So why did I say this is the one of the question that is very deceiving? Looks very easy, but is really scary. I'm gonna show you what people come up to be. The answer, some people says answer is x equal to 1. That's one answer. Some people says x equal to 0. That's another answer. Bennett says, well, the answer could be all three. X equal to 1, -1, and 0. Then what happens? Do you get partial credit if you get x equal to 1? No, you don't. You don't deserve any credit. X equal to 0, you don't deserve any credit. X equal to 1, -1, and 0, you deserve all three. Now, another more crazy things I see is like you cube root both sides, and that's just gonna be cube root of x, and you become x equal to cube root of x, and that doesn't go anywhere. And then you kind of like,
These are t-shirts for your first period for SGA.
oh,
You just have to fill it out and I assume we'll come pick it up later.
oh, I have to fill up for them, or they fill up for themselves.
I think you have to fill it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just before you leave, come fill this out. I'm gonna waste my time. Um, so I'm gonna be all day filling your classroom. Um, so the best thing is to use something called zero product property. And for me, that there is a theorem in algebra 2. It's actually, I forgot his name. I think it could be Gauss. Yeah, Frederick Gauss. Frederick Gauss is a mathematician. He's also a physicist. Very well-known contribution to the Math Society. So Frederick Gauss says, Anthony, you gotta pay attention. The Frederick Gauss says, if there is a 3, if there's a 3 right here, the fundamental theorem of algebra says there is 3 solutions. There's 3 solutions. You cannot just have one. If there's 3, so that if any type of equation with 3 on it, that means there's 3 solutions. Now I'm going to talk about why those are 3. Now the 3 could be real, could be complex. You could have I and negative I and 2. You could have that, but there's always 3 solutions. They're not always real. So in my calculus class, we already talked about all the real solution, but the truth is they might be complex number as well. So you have to understand those 3 means 3 solution, and solution could be a complex number, could be a real number. Okay, so fundamental theorem. So write it down. Fundamental theorem of algebra says that's a third power. That means you got 3 solutions, and the solution could be real and could be complex. Okay, could be complex. Right now, we're only going to deal with real number, but AP Pre-Calculus does deal with complex number a lot more than calculus or algebra 2. So if this is 3, the one of the best thing is set equation equal to 0. Always set the equation equal to 0. So your first step is always set equation equal to 0. So when do you set the equation to 0? When you have x more than 1. When you have x squared. No, something x squared. Sometimes, x squared you can solve using square root equation. But x cubed minus x equal to 0. What you can do is you can factor out x, and then that's going to be x squared minus 1. And then you can factor more, use the difference of the square. And then it's going to be x equal to 0, x plus 1 equal to 0, x minus 1 equal to 0. Those of you guys don't know, this is called a zero product property. And I'm going to explain to you why is that zero product property. And a lot of teachers didn't bother to explain, which is I'm really frustrated about that. X equal to 1. So there are 3 solutions. And what you mean by zero products property? Zero product means anything multiplied by 0 is going to be 0. So think about it. If I have x minus 1 equal to 0, x equal to 1. What happens if I plug in 1 here? Just on that particular parenthesis. It'd be 1 minus 1, right? It'll be 0. So it will cause everything become 0. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to do the second one. I'm going to take this one, set it equal to 0, x equal to negative 1. But I plug in negative 1 here, it'll be negative 1 plus 1. That'd be 0. It doesn't matter what other x is. Other x could be negative 1, and the other could be 5, but it's still causing one parenthesis become 0, then everything goes to 0. So it's called zero product property. It could work with i's, believe it or not. But we're not going to do that yet. Right now, we're going to focus on a real solution because right now we're still in Algebra 1. We haven't get to Algebra 2 yet. We're almost there. We need one more test to get there. So that's called zero product property. Does that make sense? Okay. So what you're going to do is you always move into one side and you're going to factor. Now, factor has a lot of technique. It has more technique you can count. You got binomial. You got difference of a square. You got sum and difference of a cube. Trinomial. You got a box. Those of you guys don't know how to use a box yet, use a box. It'll help you. So I promise you. Third thing is factor by grouping. So you're not learning anything new. You're just learning set the equation equal to 0 and then factor from there. Does that make sense? So what if I have a question like this? 18x squared equal to 9x plus 2. And I say, hey, solve for zeros. Solve for the solution. This is the first time you deal with the equation. Ian, don't fall asleep. This is the first time you deal with equation. All the previous tests, we only deal with the expression. And we'll talk about this difference between equation and expressions in a second. Ian, get it done. Julia, can you see? You sure? I can change your C if you need it. So we still review, it comes down in line, we still have to review those factoring skills. Do you know your factoring skill? Jesus, you gotta know how to factor? Yeah, you got an answer? Anybody did not get an answer yet? Bennett got an answer? No? McKenna got an answer? Austin? Safa? Charlotte? Yeah, okay. Robert? No? Yeah, I gotta learn how to factor. Brendan? No? You don't know how to factor yet. Armin? Okay. Annika? Almost there. Emily? Yes, okay. Aiden? Who else didn't get it? Raise your hand. It's okay. Neil? You got it? No? Okay, Sarah, you did not get it? Who did not get it? Raise your hand. It's okay. Okay, you need to learn my way of factoring because if you don't know how to factor this, you gotta learn. Okay, but first thing is you had to move everything to the other side. x squared minus 9x minus 2 is equal to 0. First, Anthony, pay attention. Last, middle, here. Then that's going to give you multiply two things times each other. Which two things times each other equal to 18x squared? Remember, you want to choose a number more closer to each other rather than 1 and 18. That would be the worst choice. It's possible, but there's only like 5% of the time it's going to be 1 and 18. So what's the best choice? 6 and 3, good. So it'd be 6 and 3x. And then you want to do 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. So you got to decide. For me, I would decide. Like if I visualize, so I use this. If I visualize this inside my head, I say this is 2, this is 1, this is 12x, this is 3x, which is, that might be doable. Now, if I would have did the other way, 1 and 2, that's going to be 6x and 6x. It doesn't add up to be 9x or 9x whatsoever. So the first route is definitely a better choice. So 2 and 1, that's going to be 12x, and that's going to be 3x. But you say, how does that add up to be negative 9x? Well, remember, this one is negative. That means one of the sign has to be negative. That means which one need to be negative? 12. Yes. Because you want a negative 9x. This one you add together. So that's going to be 6x plus 1 times 3x minus 2. Now, once you get to this, you're going to have to set it equal to 0. And 6x equal to 1, negative 1. And the x equal to negative 1 over 6. 3x minus 2 equal to 0. X equal to 2 over 3. Now, this is the two roots. Now, if you do quadratic formula, you're going to get exact same thing. It's that quadratic formula is deal with sometimes it does not factorable. This is a factorable. You can use this. Factoring to solve usually is the first priority because quadratic formula only do it to the question that you cannot. I've seen people try to use quadratic formula on something you can factor. That's going to waste a lot of time because just do this question, it's going to take 3 minutes instead of 45 seconds. And that's only if you're good with numbers. Okay, I can show you that they are the same. Now, today's homework, you might require factor by grouping. You might require trinomial. You might require factor out GCF. Always factor out GCF first. So I could have a question like this and factor out GCF. Okay. Is that okay? Okay, so now I'm going to extend that question a little bit further. What do I mean by further? Well, I can textbook I have not here. Where'd it go? I didn't take it. Oh, how'd you know? That's nice. So the next question is I'm gonna be involved with this is okay, well, let's see, a little bit different. I'm gonna put a little bit combination in terms of that. So let me see. It's called rational. Okay, so hopefully you guys know how to factor. Jesus, do you know how to factor? With the box or with your? With the box. Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about those questions here. I'm almost there. Problem solving, make it different. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I have this question. Now I'm gonna put a combination of a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. I have this new equation now. becomes a little bit more advanced now. Command is more closer to algebra 1.5, almost close to algebra 2 range. This question's here, you're like, Ashton, welcome back. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You were sick?
Yeah.
Did you watch a video though?
I did.
Okay. Now, why is this question different than any other question and also the same? In algebra 1, you never see x on the bottom. It's more like algebra 2. But this is not something you don't know how to do. Right now, how many people know how to do? Only one? Think about whatever we learn. Do you like fractions? No. Do you know how to find a way to get rid of fractions? Figure out. How do I get rid of fractions? This is the question you should ask yourself. I don't like fraction. Yesterday we did a cat problem. Before like linear equation, we did something similar to this. Then you say, wait, how do I get rid of fractions? Austin, you got it? No? How many of you guys got it now? Okay, 2, 3. Okay, good. Better than before. Before it's only 1. Astrid, you got it?
Maybe.
What'd you get for answer?
X is equal to 1/2.
No. Robert?
I got 2 and negative 3 over 2.
Negative derivative. Okay, so yes. The first step is we don't like fraction. We already talked about this before. I already told you this is one of the very important SAT strategy. If you see fraction and you are solving the equation, you are multiply this by 2x. Why? Because 2 and x is this. Let me finish. So it'll be 2x squared. And 2x multiplied by this, x is going to cancel. That's going to be minus 6. That's equal to what? X. So it'll be 2x cubed minus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Then if you do a factor, it's going to be 2x plus 3 and x minus 2 equal to 0. And the x equal to negative 3 over 2, x equal to 2. And there you go. You learn how to do things a little bit. We learn how to do a jab and a hook. Now I'm going to ask you combinations. It's not always going to stay the same. Everything's going to get better. Everything's going to get harder. Julia, I talk to you. And Katie? What?
I'm doing so much better now.
You just need to stay awake, man. You and Yen, the two boys I have always falling asleep.
I switched from coffee to tea, and from tea to coffee, and it's so much better now.
Tea to coffee. The secret is tea to coffee, guys.